Sure. Good morning to you all. Thank you for joining us on our next upcoming Zoom exciting opportunity here interview for the Daybreak Star Radio Network. Our motto, our ingredients, what we're known for here is indigenizing the airways. And we're really excited to have a few moments to talk to you guys. This will be highlighted on our website, our social media, and I'll definitely be hitting this on the air on afternoon drive time. So thank you for everyone joining us this morning.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so could you please introduce yourselves and state your tribal affiliation?
My name is Preston Singletary. I'm Tlingit and Filipino, and I live in the Seattle area.
Shakindustu Khatosa Kagwantana Yat Luknahadi Hatsiti Kagwantan Dutch Hunk Cook Hit Ayat Sheet Kakwandak Nahatsiti. My names are Ed Littlefield and Shakindustu, born and raised in Sitka, Alaska, and I'm Tlingit.
Right on. It's good to be here. Gayal Yaktu Salk, Dr. Tana Kakita Kakdukandu Ayahutsidi, Ushketanyari Ahat, Aish, Tihini do Salk, Tlinkitaway Aslagi, Filipino Ahat, Konaschish, Ho Ho. My name is Gene Tagaban. My Tlingit name is Gayal. I'm of the Dukdane Ton clan, Raven Freshwater Sockeye clan from Huna. He's Alaska, child of a Wishkatan, Eagle Shark clan from Juan and Juneau. I'm Cherokee, Tlingit, and Filipino. My last name, Tagaban, comes from the Philippines from my grandfather, who's on my dad's side, who's Tlingit and Filipino. My grandfather comes from Bantog. My great-grandfather comes from Ilocos Norte. My mama, she's full-blood Cherokee, Tlagi from Western Bend, Oklahoma, born in Jay, raised in Xena. Wolf clan on that side. And before the Trail of Tears, my people on that side come from a place that is now known as Georgia, Tennessee, and North Carolina. It's good to be here in the Pacific Northwest on the territories of the Coast Salish people. Right now I'm on the traditional lands of the Puyallup in the shadow of Mount Tahoma.
I'm Ishnewe, thank you. So my first question for all the listeners is, how do you pronounce properly the band's name and where did it come from?
The proper pronunciation of the name is Khu.éex. Khu.éex. It means potlatch in Tlingit, or a gathering of healing of the spirit. Healing of the spirit gathering, and how did we come across that, Preston? Actually, what was the final decision on coming across that?
I think you brought that as an idea for the name of the band, and I liked it in terms of I kind of look at it, potlatch or Khu.éex, as being sort of a sharing of music, stories, songs, dances, and artwork coming together. And so that's kind of what the band is known for. We use, Tlingit, Haida, in Yupik languages, and English as well. So it's just kind of a celebration of this coming together of cultural styles and mixed up through jazz and rock and funk music.
And also, in addition to all that, Khu.éex is a release of grief ceremony, part of that. And whenever I play, we've got these, sort of tough things that we're talking about sometimes, but it's also a release of that pressure and mentioning it, putting it out in the air, so then you can have that healing. So there are usually two parts of Khu.éex: the mourning, like the sad time, and then we turn it over into the happy times. And so I think this music has both of those, where it's a party band, and we're jamming, but we also cover some deep topics inside of that. So
Ed, I was just going to say that too. It's like relieving the grief. And much of what it is too. Sure, we like to get the music out there, but also healing of that spirit, relieving of the grief too. And that's a big part of what we do. And even before each performance, we have that time of reverence, that time of prayer, and just from former ancestors.
So when did Khu.éex begin?
It started in 2013, and I was one of the, Gene and I are two of the original co-founders. I've been collaborating with Gene for several years in the group that we called Little Big Band. And this opportunity came in 2013. I met this fellow named Bernie Worrell, who was the keyboard player for Parliament Funkadelic. He was one of the original founders of that group. Went on to do amazing things, working with lots of different musicians from all around the world, African, Middle Eastern, and blending musical styles. And so I met him and had the opportunity to open up. Gene was there with the Little Big Band. At the end of that show, he said, I've been thinking about your music and I'd like to collaborate with you. And I was just kind of like, gobsmacked, I didn't ever anticipate that a guy like that would, express interest in working with me. But I knew that based on his musical knowledge and his ability to gather the energy, he always said that, the music comes through him. A lot of, incredible musicians always claim that that's how their gift comes to them. And so this opportunity to work with Bernie was incredible. We all learned so much through working with him, and he was known as the Wizard of Woo. He was his concept of the woo was bringing people together through music. And so that's something that we kind of try to carry on with us in all facets of how we create music today.
Thank you.
What keeps you all together, as a group? You guys are all in different, vicinities, different areas, and, there must be organization that has to go in, planning, logistics, timing. Who's in charge of, being the organized one, saying, all right, rehearsals, show up at 8:45 for 9 a.m. Who's responsible for being that guy?
The perseverance and patience of Preston Singletary, who has to put up with all of us.
Yeah. It is, kind of like the reluctant band leader. I don't see myself as a leader so much as I like to. The more I think about it, I feel like I'm kind of a curator of talent. Everybody in the group is so talented and has really, really diverse experience in many different facets of art, traditional knowledge, music, as composers, as, performers, you name it, visual arts, traditional and contemporary. And when we do get together, it is a special time. Usually it's around a performance. We'll get together and rehearse a few times. And up until now, there's so much history behind the band at this point. But we are carrying on with a newer lineup. We have a new keyboard player because Bernie passed away in 2016. We also had Clarissa Rizal, who was traditional Chilkat weaver and a really good friend to us, a mentor and a sister. She passed away as well the same year, so we lost 2 band members in that year. But today we're happy to say that we just released our 4th album. We have a 5th album coming out, which is reflective of the next chapter of the group, including Ed was heavily involved with this next release that the group is going to have ready probably by the middle of the year. And Sandra Segundo, who's not able to join us today, but she sings with us. She's from the Haida tribe. And then we have a new keyboard player, Tim Kennedy. So we work with non-native musicians as well, who are really, really well-versed in their instrument. And as improvisational musicians and jazz players, they take the music into different realms.
On the different realms, what is it like mixing native sounds, native culture in with jazz, funk, and rock and roll?
I'm gonna let Ed take that one because
Ed,
Ed's also been doing, blending his jazz music with Tlingit culture and melodies for many years too.
Yeah, and thanks for that question. What is it like to, blend, traditional music or cultural music? So, I'm going to start off with there's no way Tlingit people could have survived in Southeast Alaska without adapting other ways of living. So let's start with that. And that's been over 10,000 years. So Indigenous people have been doing this. This is nothing new, is what I'm saying. Indigenous people have been updating their ways of life for thousands of years. And that includes hearing other people's music. There's a series in Sitka called the Aleut series, or Giek Kwan. And it's the story of a person that traveled about 2,000 miles across to the Aleutian Islands. He was actually banished out there and came back because he wanted to pass away in his homeland. And as his penance, he gave these songs to the Tlingit people, and that's still today. So fast forward thousands of years, we have these influences that are surrounding us, but we also have, what I grew up with. We just lost a really special leader in the Sitka community and Tlingit world, Dastia, Ethel McKinnon, a few days ago. And just learning from her as a kid, and learning those stories, that influenced how I do my music later in life. So picking up things, listening. So getting back to that question, I thought I was doing something new when I combined jazz and Tlingit music. Turns out I was about 50 years late on that. You know how that works. So it's been going on for so long. You've heard of Jim Pepper, and there's a lot of great other artists like that. And so what's it like? Personally, I think keeping the culture at the core while having musical influences from outside that is what I think about. So how can we make this indigenous right here at the core, but also kind of like tack on some things on top that still don't change the core of what it is. So this is indigenous people making indigenous music in with a little icing on top kind of thing. So that makes it really special.
Another wonderful artist too, Archie Kavanaugh, was a great jazz musician who combined his Tlingit culture in with modern with music, contemporary music. Part of that too is like, as Native people, Indigenous people, we evolve. And so there's, when we talk about the border schools, the residential schools, and the colonization, industrialization, capitalization, and whatever happened and was thrown onto the Indigenous people of all the lands, there was kind of a stoppage of that natural progression of growth and evolvement of music, of art, of oratory, and all those things that were there. And so what's going on now? Now there's this you're feeling this resurgence of picking up where things were left off. And that's not only with the art, but with the theater, with the stories, with the writing, with the music, and just with way of life as well. And I love people are calling me that younger generation who are picking these things up now, and I'm really digging the younger generation now that's really coming behind us, and the revitalization of the language and bringing, and Preston here is working with glass and the work that he does and the new designs that are coming out. So there's just the continuation of the evolvement that kind of like was at a standstill from that stoppage, but with the resilience of who we are as Indigenous people. And part of that too, Khu.éex, potlatch, that was illegal at one time to have that in the First Nations too, to have a potlatch and, or Khu.éex, and so here we are, and we're still here, and we're still growing.
I would also just a little addition to concept of blending My interest in music growing up came through playing piano, and I learned how to play a few Scott Joplin riffs, ragtime piano, and it's something that attracted me to the syncopation of the music, and it carried through into rock music and funk music, soul music, and the syncopation that is present in those types of music. To me, funk music really embodies the best of soul, jazz, rock, gospel, and pop music and dance music. And so for me, that's what really drove this idea of bringing this influence into the Native music, because I wanted to hear it. I wanted to see how it would feel to try to take that level of jazz improvisation. It has a tendency to elevate the music and take it to different levels with the energy, the solos, and just the excitement of playing live music together. And so that's what I really wanted to see. And I didn't feel like that there was anything that was out there like what we do. You have indigenous, you have native reggae, you have native jazz, you have native, world beat, you have native rock, you have native blues, but you didn't have this funk jazz, on the level that I feel like we try to achieve. And so that was part of the calculation that I wanted to, as I got deeper into my artwork, again, like Gene was saying, trying to pioneer this new material of glass into Native art and symbolism. It was the same. I found this opportunity with working with Gene, especially. So it was I really enjoy learning from Gene's perspectives around this and what we do.
Just an about the jazz side, because you said Scott Joplin, so that's early 1900s, late 1800s ragtime, which then influenced what we call jazz, and then which influenced funk music. So, and everything after that. So, my friend Jason Marsalis, who is in the Hall of Fame of Jazz, he got to play on a record of mine, and so he's playing Tlingit melodies in jazz, which he's very well versed. And he goes, jazz is an open architecture to combine cultures, or roughly about that. And I thought that was magical too. So, what Preston's talking about is like funk music. We can play because it's based on jazz. We can combine that and still have two pretty equal parts of culture and music together. I thought that was a really great way of explaining jazz and funk and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that really is. I love that. See if I can find it exactly.
I didn't say that. That was Jason Marsalis. So.
Jason Marsalis, yeah. That's such a good explanation of jazz. And I love that Scott Joplin was one of your influences. When I was taking piano when I was younger, I was getting a little bored and annoyed, and my music teacher gave me Scott Joplin, and all of a sudden it was so fun to play.
Yeah, it is. It's infectious, I wasn't really good at reading, but I could figure out the syncopations, and I figured I could look at the music and figure out the chords, but then my ear was so well trained. I play mostly by ear. I understand. I'm not a sight reader though.
Man, I'm just thinking of all these things about jazz too. So what you said is it's so good to play or to listen to. That is why jazz is also a music of the people. All right, the generations of slaves coming over and putting their music into it, generations of native people coming over and sharing Western culture. So those Western and African rhythms combining, creating jazz, which is essentially of the people. And you know what? Cultural music is also from the people. So it's two. I also like that kind of visual. It's like jazz is from the people. Indigenous music is the people. You can't separate the music from the people and vice versa. So combining those is really powerful thing when that happens.
I'll take it one step further. Even though, Jason, no, it wasn't Jason, it was Hans Teuber and Tim Kennedy. They were talking about, they were aware of some native jazz musician who was talking about powwow drum. And the powwow drum is like, it's kind of like a, it's like there's a swing there, and that was his propagation, was that's where the swing style came from in jazz. So we don't even know, but there was so much happening there. Anyway, I'll leave it at that.
And I'm going to take it like way over the top here with this, and I'm going to like the funk, the jazz, and combination with the native music and stuff like that, and what we do, and I just like it. It makes me feel good. It hits me in a place deep inside that just wakes me up.
Yeah.
And so I like it. That simple.
That is wonderful. It actually leads really well into the next question I wanted to ask you, which are, what are your favorite songs to play in your band? Like when everybody's like together and you're just in it, what are the ones that really pull all of you in and you just love to play?
Well, for me, there was a couple of our discography, I guess, if you want to call it. There's like Sunrise Song is one that I really like. There's the Canoe Song that is also, one that is very improvisational. There's a lot of them though. I mean, there's like some of the story ones, like Earth Prayer is another one that really stands out to me. It features Gene as a storyteller, and it's very. The thing is, the way that we created this music was very organic and improvisational. Most of the material that we did, we had a very loose idea of what we were going to do when we got there. And a lot of the, maybe half the material or a third of the material was just totally off the cuff. And then the creative process came in after we had these basic tracks. And then we added the horns, then we added the voice, and then we created sections. So that's how we built the music up. The most recent album, the Wooch album, for me is 10,000 Generations, is like one of my absolute favorite tracks. And that album itself is one of the funkiest album that we did. It's like wherever I was hoping to learn and make some iconic funk tracks with Bernie Worrell. It was like that was his what he was known for. And I think by the album 4, the fourth and final album featuring Bernie, we finally got there.
I just love the songs that share the stories. So I'm into, when I first started playing, I'm like, oh yeah, this is just the same groove over and over again for me, right? And then we started adding people, and I was like, oh yeah, this is not about me. This is about us telling a story. So actually what you said about Gene's song, that is also a story. Every time Gene tells a story, I'm like, it could go on for 20 minutes. I don't care. It's like, tell the story. You kind of get in that, and I think we get in that group, even, or into that vibe, into that feeling, into this, like, what is it like to be part of the story? So those are special to me now. And once I figured out what they were truly about, trying to get in there. And then, I'm just going to throw out Sandra's song, the Killer Whales Breathe In, it was super secret. It's the next one, right? It comes out on the next one. But having her, a strong lead vocalist, female lead vocalist is amazing. And not only the story that she sings and is just having that voice out there too, is another special part that I think is special, that we have a very strong, powerful lead vocalist, female vocalist, which is awesome to have.
So you asked the question too, is what's our favorite song to play once we all come together and finally get to play? Sometimes in the work that I do, and that's with Captain Rob too, and many of us, we deal with other issues in the world like drug, alcoholism, suicide, homelessness, domestic violence, a variety of things. And so I'll be honest with you, there have been times where we have to go to a rehearsal or even a gig, and I'm tired after a day of dealing with that. I'm tired, and so as we said earlier, as starting things off, what does Khu.éex mean? Relieving the grief, healing the spirit, and all that. And so once we, my favorite part is actually just getting together and start playing. So it really doesn't matter what we start playing. It's just getting together and just start bringing it out there, because the purpose of what we do is, again, to heal the spirit and healing the grief and bring that joy and that and to the people. And so there's, even after there was the time of the pandemic when time of the pandemic here. I was speaking as if it's a long time ago. It was just we're still in it, but where we finally got together, masked up in the studio, put some things on, and then on stage, and there was no audience, but we were together playing. And it was really, and so that's I dig just being on stage and feeling that energy. And again, it's like I said earlier, it feels good, deep inside. There is a piece though that I want to bring up. I don't know. I don't even know if it's on the last album. That piece that we did with Steven when he was doing some throat singing. Is that going to be on the next one? And Ed was on xylophone and I was on flute, and then Sandra was speaking her language.
There's free jazz, baby.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to hearing that one, man.
Yeah. It's as it goes with, when we're in the studio, it's like I think we had about 6 songs. We thought, this is going to be an EP. And then we started like, hey, let's try this one. Let's try something like this. The engineer that we work with, Randall Dunn, is really instrumental in the creativity around recording and the music that we have put out on record so far. He always brings a lot of creative ideas and kind of pushes us. He'll challenge us to do something, kind of take us outside of our comfort zone and like, oh yeah, do this. Or let's just do some throat singing, and everybody kind of like chimes in. So it's always an adventure. It's always special when we come together. That's what I really enjoy about recording, because it kind of captures a snapshot of what you're doing right then and there. And so that's why it's a real blessing to have these recordings to reflect on, to listen back. It's like, I remember that session, I remember that time, or think about that solo, I think about, all of that, and, try to project into, new directions. What can we do next? We still have lots of new material to work on. And hopefully it'll be on an ongoing basis.
I mean, Preston makes it sound like this year, like there's actually a process in some ways, but sometimes Randall just says, hey, go in there and do something. And we're like, what? No, just do something. And that's how it starts.
Yeah. Go tell a story. And then all of a sudden, everybody is reacting. That was the interesting thing. It's like we did that a couple times. So let's try a Gene story, and it was called Gene Story, as a placeholder. And then if you listen to some of the earlier tracks where Gene's telling the story, and you listen to it's almost like a call and response. And Bernie was so gifted with that. He could pull out a little chord or a little jingle that would kind of echo what Gene was saying. And it was brilliant. I mean, you have to be really, it's the music that we do it's not something that you put on just in the background. I mean, it's almost kind of irritating in a lot of ways. Like I tried to play it at an opening for my, one of my art shows, and it was almost too strident. It was got really dynamic and huge, and then it got really low, and it's like almost distracting. But if you sit and listen to it with intent, the way that we used to listen to music in the old days, when when all we had were records, and you had to decide to put this record on the turntable and play it and listen to it, you listen with more of a sense of purpose than we do today. Or just plug in an algorithm, a genre, or the artist radio. It'll feed you material that sometimes it's a way to discover new music, but in some ways it takes the intelligence of how we approach music. It's like it could be anything, and good or bad or indifferent, we're still accepting it.
That's awesome. Thank you all for that. That all actually circles back to what Ed said, that jazz is of the people. Just right there. Yeah.
You guys are entering into the Hollywood arena here. You guys are hitting the big stage here with this upcoming documentary, The Magic of Noise, coming out this year. And I'm excited to learn more. And I'd like the listening audience internationally to understand what's on the playing field here and what we can expect.
Well, we've been working with documentary filmmakers since about 2013. I've been working with them longer, but geez, that's coming up on 10 years now. So they've captured different aspects of us, from back from Little Big Band to, some of our time in the studio. We've captured several live performances with multi-camera shoots, and lots of interviews, and talking about the arc of the group, and its origins, and the change in personnel based on loss, based on this change of other people moving on, and then finding new people to work with. So I think this takes us through the entire arc of our creative process. It's more, kind of sharing insights about what the music means to us, and getting into the creative process a little bit as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Do you guys have anything else you'd like to say about the band or yourselves before we end our interview today? Anything you want to plug?
I'll lead off if the other guys want to, have some thoughts around that. We're trying to navigate into a theatrical approach to the music. There is a couple of opportunities coming up, nothing really solid at this point, but we've been talking with Seattle Theater Group, and also we have friends who have connections to the Seattle Symphony. So there are things that may come to pass where we can bring it more into a theatrical live performance kind of thing. What comes to mind for me is the Fela Kuti musical, which kind of dramatized his life through music and stage acting and dancing, and I think that based on the music that we do and some of our connections to the cultural knowledge, and dancing with regalia and masks and storytelling, Gene's an excellent traditional and contemporary storyteller. So we're trying to figure out who we can get to sort of support us in this kind of an endeavor. So that's one thing that's it's kind of on the horizon. It's more and more conversations are happening, and eventually something's going to come together. And some of the I know that Ed has a lot of theater experience, and as a composer, and working with the production of actual theater pieces. So we have a lot of capabilities, and Gene being a screen actor and stage actor, storyteller, all of that.
Yeah, I'm actually not even in Seattle right now. I'm in Illinois doing a new play by Madeline Sayet, Mohegan, and so theater is pretty awesome. I just want to say we will make an effort to continue Indigenous music through funk for as long as we can.
For the people. I just want to see, like, I mean, I was telling Preston too, one day I just want to be that old guy that's sitting on the side on stage in a chair with a staff and just kind of tapping my toe and, and just giving a heads up, just going, just really enjoying what's going on, and as new stories come out. And oftentimes too, when we talk about stories and storytelling, people think about these traditional stories, but there's so many stories out there, contemporary stories of this generation that's coming up and what's going on in the world too, and how do we express those in a good way, and bring that to the people as well, and so who knows? I mean, I'm open to possibility, creativity, and expansion of thought, and and crossing over different paradigms and creating change too.
Well, thank you all very much for joining us. This is heartwarming. It's wonderful. Thank you so much for all your time.
Yeah, Daybreak Star Radio Network, right on. It's awesome.
Oh, I'm sorry. We just launched our brand new apps. So we have apps for everybody, all of our Android users and Apple iOS. You can just search for Daybreak Star Radio on your Play Store on your mobile device. And that's one of our latest big announcements here. But we're doing lots of big things here, from new shows to upcoming live broadcasts. So we're really excited to continue to indigenize in the airways here in Seattle. Well, we're international, but we're based here.
Yeah.
Congratulations. It's exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you.